really propel our projects forward very quickly and very well. 4 foundational projects to start. These 4 were identified through a workshop last fall and then another meeting on Jeju Island, Korea in November. And these, we look at these as the foundation of the information and knowledge that we need to really develop more targeted projects, to really develop more targeted opportunities to have impacts out in our governments and in the real world. The first is the Global Smart Grid Inventory, bringing together knowledge on the drivers, the policies, the programs that already exist in these countries. You know, as we are closely aligned in many ways, but there are significant differences between our countries in what's driving us to pursue smart grids. And understanding what those differences are and where those points of alignment are is going to be vital for really identifying really concrete opportunities for cooperation. Smart grid case studies, and the most important part of this is using a common framework. How do you create real in-depth case studies on smart grid technologies and the deployment of smart grid technologies that are comparable across geographies? So they really generate real knowledge and not what can sometimes happen in case studies, which is the pat on, people patting themselves on the back for doing a good job. Benefit cost methodologies, bottom up at the investment and project level, and top down. Why should countries care about smart grid at a national level? And related policy toolkits to assess investments. Again, both national level investments and kind of bottom up company level investments. And the last one has a terrible title, but is actually very important. It's synthesis of insights for high level decision makers. How do you develop the communications tools, and how do you synthesize the results of the other projects in such a way that you actually can deliver key messages effectively to leaders like energy ministers through the Clean Energy Ministerial, or corporate decision makers or regulators? You know, as someone was mentioning earlier, when you have to plan for things at the beginning, otherwise they get lost at the end. Well, we have to plan for how we're going to communicate what we're doing to others at the beginning. Otherwise, we're concerned that we'll end up with a very nice report that goes on the shelf, but very little impact. And the ultimate goal of this is to have impact. As someone mentioned earlier this morning as well, we had a meeting earlier this week on the Global Smart Grid Inventory, trying to figure out how we can coordinate with efforts from the Joint Research Commission, with the European Electric Grid Initiative, with ENARD, et cetera. So we are very aware that there's a lot of ongoing efforts in these areas, and our goal is not to duplicate those activities, but to figure out how to take knowledge from them or take the work that's already been done and make it have broader utility globally. A number of projects and other collaborations are proposed or under consideration. I will point out very quickly that we had a presentation regarding ENARD today, that we take our cooperation with ENARD very seriously, and we look forward. We've started a dialogue with them potentially to merge the two efforts into one implementing agreement. We'll be discussing this at our executive committee meeting with representatives from ENARD this June. I don't really have time to go into the last bit on DOE because I'm basically out of time, but just to give you a quick sense of the Guido brought up, so I'm going to go through it very, very quickly. Recovery Act had $4.5 billion for smart grids, and part of that was the Smart Grid Investment Grant Program. 99 projects at $3.4 billion federal, cost shared with 4.4 non-federal. And it's not just smart meters, it's a range of technologies that are being looked at. He also mentioned, he mentioned one of the regional demonstration programs, which is 16 awards supported in 21 states. These are large-scale demonstrations involving numerous consortia. And really the idea is to be able to provide things that can be replicated again and again. You know, the investment grants are much smaller scale investments. These are kind of larger like learning processes. Workforce training, I'm going through this very quickly. I don't expect you to read these now. Interoperability, which Dean's going to be talking about in a moment, and a lot of mechanisms to track the results, track the data, and really produce them. And I apologize for going through these quickly. I'm hoping these will be distributed to you all. I put these in here with that intent. I'm going to flip through this. If there's any more slides that are important to mention now. Go. There. The last two slides I think are important to mention are, we mentioned the Smart Grid Information Clearinghouse earlier. And Guido showed a map that showed U.S. projects on there. Anyone in the world can put documents or list projects in the Smart Grid Information Clearinghouse. So we encourage you, as you have time and interest, to check it out and encourage you to put your own projects and your own reports on there. And lastly, if you want to know more about what DOE is doing and the U.S. government's doing on Smart Grid through the Recovery Act, check out smartgrid.gov. That's the page has got a brand new facelift. That's the new front page, but it has access to the data from the investment grants and the other recovery projects. With that, I'll say thank you and encourage you to visit those websites. Thank you for your time.